Hello and welcome back to your stable friend. I have many pet peeves. I'm almost 60, so I've been able to collect them for quite a few years. One of my pet peeves from the last dozen or so years has been when people say certain things in the equestrian community. And one of the sayings that I cannot stand, I almost cannot stand to say it, the bit is only as hard as the hands that hold it, or the bit is only a weapon if you weaponize it, or the bit is only as rough as the hands at the end of the reins. Oh, come on. I hate it. I hate it so much. It's not true, first of all. Second of all, it makes just enough possible sense that someone's so easily just going to buy right into it. Because it sounds like, oh yeah, that sounds really good. I want to believe that because it sounds really good. It is not true. And I'm just going to do a very short little pep talk today about why it's not true and why you should be seeking other options rather than putting a bit into your horse's mouth. Once you put the bit in the mouth, it doesn't matter about the hands holding the reins, because once you lay it over the tongue, you don't even have to put any pressure on the reins at all. It begins to affect the horse adversely. What happens when you put a piece of gum or a hard candy into your mouth? You start salivating, you start swallowing a lot, your body is expecting food. Everything's preparing and churning and getting ready to go for food. Same thing happens when you put the bit in the horse's mouth. And it doesn't matter if it's the first time the horse is wearing the bit or 25 years after wearing a bit. It's not the horses, they're not in control of that. They can't say to their system, oh, it's just the bit, don't make any acids, don't make any saliva, it's just a bit. It's like us. We can't say to our bodies, oh, it's gum, I'm never going to be, swallowing it, so don't worry about all the saliva. It doesn't work that way. This is physiological. This is a physiological occurrence. You lay that bit in the mouth, you put it inside the horse's mouth, and the horse's body prepares for food. Period. Final. Okay? That's number one. That's very conflicting for the body, for food that never comes. We talk about ulcers and we talk about, stomach acids, and can't be very good for the ulcers. It can't be very good for any part of the body that is expecting food. Now, speaking of the tongue and the horse's mouth, what was the horse's mouth made for? Was it made to carry around 2 or 3 pounds worth of metal or even rubber or plastic for any length of time while it needs to have its mouth sealed in order to properly oxygenate its body? It was not made for that. It was made to take in some grass, to take some water, to take something that's going to be transient. I'm going to pick off some grass, I'm going to swallow it. I'm going to pick off some grass, I'm going to swallow it. Not carry around a clump of metal in its mouth and then be asked to exercise. And then be asked to exercise really nicely if possibly there's a judge watching or possibly there's a customer, watching. You not only have to exercise, but you have to exercise it really pretty with that thing in your mouth. It's not conducive. It's not conducive to an athlete to be athletic with a big hunk of metal in their mouth. Why don't you ask someone who does, track and field, hey, would you do your, could you do your race today and carry this thing in your mouth while you're doing it? See what kind of an answer you get from that person. Of course not. You can't have something in your mouth and focus and concentrate while you're trying to do something athletic. So that, and this is going to be one for you to do some research because I want to try to keep these under 10 minutes. So you'll have to do this one on your own. I want you to Google and learn about the hyoid apparatus. I believe it's Hyoid, hyoid apparatus. The hyoid apparatus begins with the tongue, and it goes all the way down into the horse's body and connects through this apparatus to the horse's hind end. When you lay something on the tongue and you mess with the horse's mouth, you're actually affecting the hind end. The horse is not, again, supposed to have any large amount of weight, and again, we're measuring this against a blade of grass, any large amount of weight on its tongue for any period of time. So that inside structure of the horse, the hyoid apparatus, becomes negatively affected by the bit. Okay? Now, that's 1 and 2, and then number 3 is the mouth seal. And we're not talking about, like a seal, like an otter or a sea lion. We're talking about the mouth having to close, sealed, shut, like you probably wish that mine would right now. The mouth has to actually close and be sealed. When they have a bit in the mouth, they really don't make a proper seal in the corners, and they don't really make a proper seal because Google any photos of any horses anywhere with a bit in their mouth, and you will see that most horses are trying to avoid the bit and their mouth is open. And if that wasn't true, if I was making up stories, there wouldn't be such a big market for flash nosebands and all different kinds of tight nosebands. The flash noseband was there to shut the horse's mouth around the bit, because most horses, when they feel too much bit pressure or the wrong kind of bit pressure, which is all kinds of bit pressure is wrong, they want to open their mouth to alleviate it. And when they open their mouth to any degree at all, that vacuum seal is broken. They might be running and doing something and have to open their mouth for some reason, but that's up to them. And there's probably an inner process that's going to compensate for that. But when we are forcing them to have to become comfortable in the bit by opening their mouth from time to time, they are breaking that seal. And by breaking that seal, they are not being properly oxygenated. So now again, you are asking someone to go out and be their most athletic self, to run a race, to play polo, to do a rodeo sport, to go around and do jumps, to go cross country, all without the proper oxygenation. I have such a hard time with that word. Without properly getting enough oxygen through to all of the cells in their body that they need to continue on. And there is a theory that this is what happens to racehorses, inexperienced racehorses, when they start and they're not oxygenating properly, that they become breathless and they go down on the track. And it's not that they broke a leg and went down, it's that they became lightheaded and went down, and with all of that speed on the way down, then they broke the leg. It's the chicken and the egg, and which came first. So there's many theories about that. All I can tell you is there are so many wonderful bitless options. There are so many wonderful ways to ride without a bridle altogether. And if you are out there sitting there thinking, well, this doesn't apply to me because I am a competition rider and I go to horse shows, it definitely applies to you. And you are the only one that's going to be able to make any changes here. You are going to have to write to your association. You're going to have to collect names and make a petition. And that's the only way that it's going to happen. If you continue to follow along and say, okay, that's the only way I'm going to a show, rather than trying to make the change, then nothing's ever going to change. That's in your hands. You're able to do that. While I was sitting around waiting to do that, I decided that I don't even want to ride at all anymore. That I have so much more fun playing with my horses and being with my horses. And I'm not suggesting that to anybody. I teach riding every day. There's all sorts of wonderful things about riding. But I'm not that person right now that's going to, get on that bandwagon and write to those associations. Why don't you do that? Why don't you people that are enjoying going to the horse shows, I'm telling you, you'll enjoy them a whole lot more if your horse is happier. Get on the bandwagon, get on the soapbox, and ask for change. Get petitions going. Go for the change. I'll help you. Message me. So please remember the next time you see the bit is only as rough as the hands that hold that. Remember what I've told you. You don't even have to be holding the reins for the bit to already be making very negative changes in the horse's physiology. Thanks for listening. Please give us a like. Please subscribe and leave a comment. Thanks a lot. See you next time.